This video is sponsored by Real Farm. Real Farm is a mobile farming simulator that relies on real-world influences for your gameplay. It uses actual farming techniques for you to grow your crops. You don't just plant your seeds and leave. Pay attention to soil nutrients, moisture levels, and temperature so you can grow the best crops possible. And you can plan out what you're growing by checking the weather, because Real Farm uses actual meteorological data to determine the weather in-game. Once you've grown your produce, you can take it all to market. Make sure you're watching peak sale hours, because Real Farm's market system has real-time price changes depending on the product sale by other users. Strike while demand is high, make lots of money. And while you're playing, you'll be able to earn these things called real coupons, where each coupon can be traded for actual produce. And that's actually kind of awesome, actually. That's pretty cool. Imagine growing grapes, and then just getting to eat them. That's beautiful. Anyway, if you like time management games that reap real-world rewards, this might be the game for you. Pre-register now and you can enter their giveaway to win produce items from their $5,000 pool. Things like meat, vegetables, and fresh fruit. Things that you can still earn through normal gameplay, but who doesn't like giveaways? Who doesn't want free stuff? Thank you so much to Real Farm for sponsoring this video, and now, on with the video. Prism as other magical girls. What does that mean? Well, Prism is my original magical girl story, and I'll be redesigning them as if they were in other iconic magical girl shows. I have done this once before, a long time ago, with the general promise to come back and do it again someday. And the entire reason I have put this video off for so long is because I have weird expectations of myself. I always want to draw too much art, I always want to be as accurate as possible. This wasn't so much an issue the first time around because the 4 shows I picked were all relatively short and things that I had seen or even rewatched recently. For a second video, I wanted to do 4 shows again, but 2 of the shows that I wanted to do I hadn't finished before. So I thought I had to make sure I watched all of both of them before I got started so I wouldn't make myself look stupid. But the problems with both of these shows is that they're long as fuck. One of them doesn't even have an English dub. How am I supposed to watch like 150 plus episodes with my full attention at any designated amount of time and still get any work done? So that's it, that's the reason. And I've gotten loads of comments and emails of people asking when I would do a second one. I knew it was in high demand. I put more pressure on myself. Excellent recipe for me getting nowhere fast. So this time, I decided to implement a second part to this exercise. Technically, making it harder so it would be easier on me. This time, I decided I would try and recapture the show's art style on top of the designs. And with more things to focus on being able to do right, I could relax a little bit on feeling so compelled to be completely canon compliant. Might be weird, it did make me feel better. This ended up being pretty much a moot point though. I will explain later. We've been waiting long enough, let's get started. The first show I wanted to place the Prism cast in was Sailor Moon, the definitive magical girl show. Arguably the single most important magical girl show to exist, absolutely genre-defining. Drawing my quintet in this universe could be interesting, not only because I have not finished the anime or the manga yet, but because canonically there are a bunch of other Sailor Senshi, and they exist in various places, as well as have designs that vary all the way from this looks just like the main Sailor Scouts to if you put a gun to my head, I would not be able to guess which series they were from. In the original manga, you have the Sailor Scouts, the future Sailor Scouts, distant future Sailor Scouts, multiple Sailor groups from outside solar systems. Some of these characters are manga only, some of them have completely different roles in the 90s anime, and then have their roles changed again in the Crystal anime. There's live-action exclusive Sailors, there's musical exclusive Sailors, thousands of hours of content. And I hardly have time to read the wiki articles for these characters. I'm giving up, we're keeping it simple. And by simple, I mean we are staying in line with the main sailors and future sailors. I don't know about the distant future ones, I haven't gotten that far yet. In essence, everyone is essentially going to get a sailor uniform that's very similar to the base ones, just with a few original aspects to tell the groups apart. I think once I do finish Sailor Moon, I might want to come back and redo this one to make it a bit more original, not just fall in line with the regular and future Sailor Scouts. Because I really didn't take into consideration how little I would have to say. The way I did it, all of the uniforms are essentially the same with palette swaps, and the palettes being just directly translated from their transformation colors in their original designs. Cats came out the most interesting in the end, but nobody individually needed much brain power. So this first one is easily the most boring of all the redesigns I've done, but I spent 10 hours drawing it, so you get to hear me talk about it now. I started with just a skeleton sketch of the poses I wanted, and the first thing I had to focus on when refining the sketches was getting the proper Sailor Moon style proportions. Their torsos are about 2 of their heads, and their legs are about 2 of their torsos. Long legs. Their appendages don't have a ton of definition, the arms and legs, just these super subtle curves. In my personal style, I like to exaggerate things a lot more, so I was having a difficult time reeling it in. The other difficult part, which I imagine will be a problem with most Magical Girl AUs that I do in the future, is that everyone in Sailor Moon has very samey body types. Their faces are the same shape, they're all the same kind of skinny. My PRISM characters are just a lot more varied generally. Like, Cat's supposed to be more muscular, Emmy's a twig, Azumi's chubby. Things that aren't often present in these kinds of shows unless it's a joke character, which isn't the cutest. In cases where same face, same body was prevalent in a series, I mostly decided to take the L and fall in line, since this is a deliberate reimagining of how the characters would have looked had they been designed for that other show in the first place. The other L I took here was I did end up giving Emmy a skirt, even though they aren't the most comfortable in them. Since this is a reimagining and the only canonically non-binary Sailor Scout also wears a skirt, I figured that's what Naoko Takeuchi would have designed them like. Canonically in PRISM, though, Emmy will put up with just about anything as long as they get to fight crime in the name of justice. You could say they're very goal-oriented, so I think it's still in character that they would put up with it. But I also feel like if I did, if Sailor Moon was written for these characters, I feel like there would be more of a discussion around it with Emmy's character. And I think that's kind of interesting. I gave everyone sort of a mix between their civilian hairstyles and their transformed hairstyles. Basically, whatever gave their hair the most natural style paired with the most unnatural color. Since with the exception of Sailor Moon, most of the Sailor Scouts have pretty plain hair. That also being why Kat got her fully transformed hair to match Sailor Moon, is a natural hair leader of the group thing. You could say that unnatural hairstyles would fit right in considering how absolutely batshit insane the hairstyles of the future Sailor Scouts are, but I didn't want to go that far. As far as changes I made to their fukus, I removed their sleeves, I made their necklines taller, I shortened the gloves, I added some bands of gold at their hips and the ends of their skirts. I also had to really brighten up all of the colors that translated over from their original designs, since Sailor Scouts are pretty saturated. And to pay homage to their source material, I made everyone's brooches the same as their prism shapes, and I gave them matching gold bands in the same place where their matching silver bands are in their prism designs. And that's pretty much it. I feel like the more I drew in this style, the more I adapted to it. I was feeling pretty comfortable by the time I finished. That was kind of cool. And I think it turned out okay. The skirts throw me off, but honestly, I think the way the show draws, and especially shades pleated skirts in general, just doesn't make sense to me. What is the light source here? But in the manga, their skirts are stylized even wilder, so I guess I digress. First things first, yes, I consider Kill la Kill to be a Magical Girl anime. Second things second. For anyone who hasn't seen Kill la Kill, 2 characters have kamuis, these are the Magical Girls. They're schoolgirl uniforms that transform into sexy fighting suits. And any other students can potentially get a Goku uniform. I'm not really sure what's up with 1-stars, they all look the same. No stars look like this. The only 3-star uniforms are owned by the Elite 4 Student Council type group, and they all have alternate regalia forms. I didn't want to have to design 2 outfits, so we're going for the middle, the 2-star uniforms, which are held by club leaders and are styled very specifically for that club. Some make sense. Some are really out there. I have a lot to work with. The process of making the Kill la Kill sketch was bizarre, to say it in a word. I love Studio Trigger's art style. I've done many style studies on Trigger before. I've been pretty good at it. I was so goddamn stressed out over drawing this for some reason. I don't know if I was suddenly just being super hard on myself, but it felt like all at once I had forgotten every last study that I had ever done. This felt like a test. So all of my sketches start really messy and ugly and insecure and scared, and then I slowly sculpt it until I can pull something Trigger adjacent from it. I find this deeply ironic since Trigger's art style is known for how loose it is, and I was not keeping my sketches loose. I excavated them loose. Outfit-wise, I really wanted to draw Kat in a kamui and make everyone else some kind of club president. Except for you, she just lives there, just a civilian design for her. I guess this would be some kind of alternate Kill la Kill where Kat acted in Ryuko's place. Except I like to think that she started the school as a no-star for a while before getting her kamui, instead of just showing up with it. I thought Hokuto would make for a really good book club leader since she prefers to hide in quiet places, and I imagine she's pretty into books. Now they just have to be in Braille. I thought Izumi would make for a good fashion design club leader, and then Emi could be the track club leader. They like zipping around a bunch. I could have gone for skateboard club leader, probably. I know Kill la Kill has some silly clubs, like fucking ping pong club. What a uniform. But I went with track club since I thought special track shoes would be fun to draw. About the time I got to sketching Izumi, I felt like I was finally getting into the swing of the style. Like, it came a lot easier, and that was kind of a relief. Things went a lot faster from there. Sorta, kinda. I struggled a lot with getting Emi's pose down. That wasn't a style thing, though. I didn't have any good references, and that pose is just hard, for me, at least. I don't know, fuck any of you who enjoy drawing running. Unlike the Sailor Moon piece, all of these outfits are very individual, so I have much more to talk about. For Kat's kamui, I tried to make it a little more conservative, both because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, but also I don't really love Senketsu and Junketsu's transform designs. There's like a single line in the show justifying why they're so skimpy. I disagree with that lore, but whatever, I guess. It's not like I don't appreciate a good horny design. I mean, on adults, this should not be a high school show. There's no reason for this to be a high school show. But like, call it what it is, it's Coomer bait. But also, someone made a hee-hee-ha-ha joke at it about what if Kill la Kill was dubbed by 4Kids, so I genuinely think these designs fuck pretty hard. So everything on Kat is super low cut. She's got her tummy exposed, but otherwise it's really sleek and skin tight. I put these fang-looking things around her torso to squish her chest together a bit and to play with kamuis being monsters. And Ryuko has these white spikes that poke out of her skirt. I'm not sure if those are also supposed to allude to teeth. I think they are. I took those and I had them go all the way up the sides of Kat's legs, almost like fringe, almost like cowboy pants. I'm also just gonna go ahead and say that in this PRISM La Kill universe, this is a college. We're going with a college. Why wasn't it in college? Ryuko and Satsuki both have these like engines of sorts on their backs, so I made Kat's look like a mirrored down version of her shoulder pads. They make a funky X together. And for the hair pieces that Ryuko and Satsuki have, I made them bigger and part of a headband, since I think that's pretty on brand for Kat. I give her headbands a lot. Then color-wise, I considered making her kamui all white like Junketsu, but I knew the accent color had to be a rainbow gradient. It had to, and it popped a lot better with Senketsu's black. I also gave Kat stark white hair to reflect her original magical girl form, but I added some bright yellow accents like Ryuko has in red since I thought it would look good. Designing Goku uniforms was definitely more of a challenge. Like, as the book club leader, what kind of outfit appearance would really be suited? Like librarian clothes? Librarians don't really have a dress code, but I feel like most people picture them as like really conservative sweet ladies, so I did my best to capture that. Pencil skirt with a little mini cardigan and her hair up in a bun. The hair I left is kind of a mix between her civilian hair with the bangs of her transformed hair. It's hard to put into words why I thought that would be the best option. I just did. I also gave her glasses because they feel very librarian, book reader-y. Obviously they're non-prescription though, they're just for show. Later I make them out of life fibers for fun. And I think Goku uniforms in themselves are already considered weapons, but most of the 2-stars have this separate weapon object that's made of life fibers. And for Hokuto, I made that object weapon her books. One that she's holding and then a bunch of comically large ones making up like a throne. I imagine these could either be some nasty projectiles, or maybe the pages could fly out and attack. Maybe they turn into paper planes and start pelting people like Mako getting pelted with tennis balls. For Izumi, if I thought designing a librarian was weird, I certainly wasn't prepared for how to design a fashion designer without it being like super over the top or dramatic. I could have really pushed this to a high fashion angle, but the more ridiculous Goku uniforms in the show are honestly my least favorites. So in the end, I decided that Azumi's uniform could be like how she would design a cute school uniform. And then for her object weapon, I gave her measuring tape. I figured she could use it like a lasso, a whip, maybe it could grow in size, stuff like that. I considered giving her a mini sewing machine around her waist. I thought that would really fit Kill la Kill, but I don't think it fits Azumi. In PRISM, she is into fashion design and especially into the business side of things, but she doesn't actually make clothes herself. She usually gets Emi or Kiyoshi to do it. Kiyoshi already knows how to sew, but Emi learned on the job specifically to help Azumi out and to earn some extra money, just a tad bit of flavor there. I also considered giving Azumi sewing scissors. I could have easily made those oversized and fun, but I didn't want to compete with the importance of the actual scissor blades in the show, so I left it as a small accessory tucked into her hair. It's kind of funny though, where Azumi was the sketch that made me feel like I had more or less gotten the hang of the trigger art style. Cleaning her up, I was slowly, progressively realizing that I think I was straying closer and closer to my own art style. The heads weren't tall enough, the hands looked like mine, the clothing looked wrong. It all still sorta looked right, but it also looked wrong. I've been studying Trigger so much, and I've adopted so much of it into my style, and I've been staring at this piece for so long. I was getting really confused. Is this my art style? Or is my art style close enough that of course I would draw parallels? Is this really what my art looks like, or have I just been looking at it for too long? Do I remember what my art looks like? Am I giving myself too much credit? I feel like other than the body types and the facial features, this is just something that I would draw. This feeling persisted all the way through drawing Emi, especially while trying to figure out how to draw their running outfit in motion. Ultimately, I'm just too far along. I don't have time to fix anything that I think needs to be fixed. I have to power through. Most notable thing about Emi's Goku uniform is the track shoes. I figured I could have made them cartoonishly big and that would have fit with other Goku uniform weapon conventions, but I wasn't sure how I could do that without it looking goofy, so I decided to emphasize the spikes that some track shoes have on their toes. I imagine it's to help sprinters get traction, I don't know. I didn't emphasize them too much here, but I like to imagine in action they can grow in size in combat to the point that Emi would just be wearing these ridiculous platform shoes, just a lot sharper. And finally, I get to you. She's so small. Half of her body is obscured. This should be the easiest part, but I just wasn't feeling it. And I stop, and I zoom out, and I sit back and I stare. No, I definitely got too comfortable. I have to start over. So I did! Regrettably. We're gonna speed through most of this. It took me ages. While starting over, I was a lot more careful about paying attention to Kill la Kill's proportions, and I took the opportunity to make slight changes to everyone as I went. Particularly really changed Hokuto's body type to make her fucking huge, super tall. Love that for her. And I ended up changing a lot about Azumi's outfit because I came to the decision that what would be more in line with canon outfits wouldn't necessarily match my personal preference. I think the new design is less cute but more suited. And as far as the learning experience goes, from having done 2 style studies so far, I've definitely noticed for the first time in my life that I draw chests really short. Like, both of these styles have had way more room between the character's neck and their breasts, and that explains a lot, actually. I have always struggled to fit foldy collars on some shirts like flannels and denim jackets. Now I know why. And as we are caught back up, that brings us back to you. She was super easy, just gave her some overalls and some cute colors for her shoes and t-shirt. If Katsumi is the Ryuko in this universe, maybe instead of staying with one of her friends, she stays with Yu and Kiyoshi while she's not at school, the college that we're pretending that this show takes place in. And that's the Kill la Kill piece. I liked how the first one was looking, but ultimately I'm really glad I went back and I did it again. I think it looks much more accurate now. I did have to sacrifice the 4th show for this drawing though. I wanted to do Shugo Chara too. That's the other show with a million episodes that I was nervous about catching up on, and a huge part of the reason why I decided to also copy styles in the first place, and I didn't even get to it. Whatever. Fine. Maybe next time. Whenever I get to next time. Princess Tutu will be the last series I do a redesign on for this video, thanks to starting the Kill la Kill piece over. And it is so criminally underrated. Princess Tutu is my favorite magical girl show of all time. Please go watch it. But here's the gist so you guys understand what the fuck I'm drawing. While Princess Tutu's whole shtick is all the characters doing ballet and there's a lot of references to famous ballets, the plot is that our main characters are sort of escaped from a storybook, for lack of a better, more concise description. This storybook is a tragedy, and despite having escaped, all of these characters are set to meet the same fates set for them that they have in the story. And they don't want that. So they have to fight against fate and even against themselves if they want to make their own happy endings. At this point in all the PRISM content I've posted, you might have noticed that I have Azumi and Emmy together a lot. They hate each other. They can't get enough. I knew if I was going to be representing PRISM as a ballet that I was going to pick the Nutcracker. I love the Nutcracker. And Azumi and Emmy had to be Clara and the Nutcracker himself. I will not be answering any further questions as why I picked them. Anyway, I decided I want to play it pretty safe since I didn't want to repeat my mistakes from the Kill la Kill piece and end up doing everything over. So this time, I started out with sketches sort of warming up for the style I was about to be drawing, and troubleshooting their outfits right away. For this section, I wanted to talk about the soft idea I had for the plot of this AU. I think that's going to take up the majority of this speed paint. So I'll quickly go over the designs and the rules now. Azumi and Emmy are, of course, Clara and the Nutcracker, respectively. Clara is often depicted in a nightgown, so I wanted to start there and slowly worked backwards to transform it from a plain and simple nightgown into a ballet costume that just sort of resembles a nightgown. And Emmy got an easy princely outfit that's reminiscent of what Nutcrackers are usually dressed in. Adding that classic tall hat would have really helped solidify the Nutcracker theme, I think, but it also felt very overt, so instead I gave Emmy some painted cheeks. Then, probably the most interesting part, I decided that Katsumi and Hokuto could act as the villains of this AU. Unlike Azumi and Emmy, who are both relatively outgoing and confident, Katsumi and Hokuto both have extremely deep-set self-worth and self-image issues. They often really can't stand the person they see themselves as, and I think that makes for a really interesting setup for them to be designated villains, who don't want to be villains. I made Katsumi the Mouse King, but there aren't really any other villains in the original Nutcracker tales, so I had to get more creative with Hokuto. I'd already decided that you would act as a sidekick character in this context, a lot like Azura for anyone who's seen Princess Tutu. And I thought she'd make for a super cute sugar plum fairy who followed the Rat King around and sees the best in Cat and acts as this beacon of innocence and positivity and hope. So to connect the three of them, I decided that Hokuto could be like an evil sugar plum fairy queen, but her colors would be a lot more muted. It would kind of feel like rotting fruit. I decided that these two villains would both have black accents to indicate them as a little more villainous, and then red accents on the underside of their tutu and cape as a sort of ominous reminder of the blood that's been drawn by their hands. So now I'd like to talk about the story I have in mind. It's pretty bare bones, but I figure most people watch these videos to get the lore and character building snippets more than to see the designs. So I thought that this might be fun. I imagine this Princess Tutu AU would be sort of like a spin-off series. Like a new season that's completely removed from the original but shares similar traits. And the most notable similar trait being characters from a story escape their story to a new world, but are still destined to their old fates. So I will be splitting this up by explaining the storybook they escaped from, and then what the plot of the show would be. So keep in mind, those are two different things. I think the storybook and the spin-off would be a very different version of the Nutcracker, very different from the ballet and the original story, but would admittedly be much more like the Barbie Nutcracker movie, which I do love. In this storybook, the Rat King and the Nutcracker would have been lifelong rivals, and the Rat King would be responsible for the curse that turned the prince into a Nutcracker. The Sugar Plum Fairy Queen and Clara would also be sort of rivals, but in a more one-sided way. The Sugar Plum Fairy Queen has grown old and bitter, and her life was never enough for her. She plays this classic evil queen role of harboring wicked jealousy, and when she sees Clara, she hates her immediately. Clara's young and beautiful and friendly, she's loved by everyone she meets, and the Sugar Plum Fairy Queen is so violently jealous that she also lays a curse on Clara. Not turning her into a nutcracker, I don't know what the curse would be. These are just musings for fun. In the storybook, Clara and the Nutcracker would meet, they'd share their stories and woes about both being cursed, and they'd agree to work together to help each other defeat the Rat King and the Fairy Queen to undo their curses. Along their journeys, they fall madly in love, and they do defeat their enemies. But in the process, one of them sacrifices themselves to protect the other, ending on a tragic note. But like in the original Princess Tutu, the storybook is unfinished, so only the author knows which one of them is destined to die. Now for the show plot that would take place in the real world, Azumi, Emmy, Kat, and Hokuto would all be attending ballet school together like in the original Princess Tutu, and none of them are really friends. Additionally, at this point when the story starts, none of them remember anything about the storybook they used to be a part of. And Emmy is not a nutcracker. It's more of a metaphorical thing than a real thing. I don't know. But none of them are really friends, and in fact, Emmy and Azumi both can't stand each other. But they're brought together because one day, seemingly out of nowhere, they're attacked by strange monsters made up of negative emotions. They both gain their powers and ability to transform at the same time, and they learn that they have to work together if either of them want to make it out of this alive. And they hate it. They can't get through a single fight without bickering. They almost cause more trouble for each other than they actually help. But they're still under attack by this unknown entity, and they individually aren't strong enough to simply walk away and survive, so they're stuck together. They are also now both aware of their pasts, and they are aware that they are destined to fall in love, and they both freak out over it. I could never love you. Fucking gross. I hope I'm the one who dies in the end so I don't have to put up with you anymore. Grrr. Shenanigans of that sort. Meanwhile, Katsumi and Hokuto are both responsible for these attacks. Kat sending out her ghastly swarm of rats to take hold of a victim and fill them with negative emotions until they turn into a monster, and Hokuto sending out her frozen tears in much the same way. They both attack out of these volatile grudges that they hold against Emmy and Azumi, but they aren't really sure why they feel so strongly about this. And they aren't even totally aware of their own actions. It's like they get worked up into this rage and blackout only to have some evil version of themselves take over and wreak havoc in their name. Katsumi and Hokuto have reasons to quarrel with Emmy and Azumi, of course, but it's on a much smaller scale. Nothing that would justify actually sending monsters after them. They don't know why they're doing that. Katsumi and Emmy are both very serious about what they do. In PRISM, it's their PRISM job, but in this case, it's ballet classes. Kat's just very organized and coordinated, very business-minded, no nonsense, and Emmy's really impulsive and prone to goofing off. It's something that pisses Kat right the fuck off, but at the same time, she almost wishes she could let go of all of her expectations for herself and have fun sometimes too. Hokuto is deeply insecure. She feels trapped by her own anxieties and scares herself out of most actions. In the actual PRISM story, I think this makes Hokuto actually admire Azumi for being a bold and confident person. I think she really likes that about her. But in this Princess Tutu AU, we'll say instead that Hokuto harbors resentment over it, that Azumi can so easily be the kind of person that Hokuto doesn't dare to dream about being. As the story progresses, Azumi and Emmy would slowly over time find that they're actually much better friends than they thought. They care about each other a lot more than they thought, even growing to be best friends. And neither of them wants the other to meet this fate where supposedly someone dies at the end. So their motivation shifts from just working together to finding a way to defy fate so they can both live and stay friends forever. But at the same time as this positive development, Katsumi and Hokuto would come to learn about all of these terrible things that they've been doing. They come to remember their past. They realize what they've been doing while they black out, and they're thrown into their own personal crises over it, swinging between wanting to just succumb to their terrible fate so maybe it won't hurt anymore if they don't fight it, and also wanting to fight it, wanting to be better people, maybe finding that even though it would be harder to get there, another way to not hurt anymore would be if they could find happiness. It just feels like an impossible goal. They've been told who they are. Maybe there's no point in fighting it. And during all this, you would be running around happily between all four of them, because all of them is her friends. She finds small ways to motivate all of them to do their best. I'm sure, of course, after Hokuto and Katsumi having themselves revealed to them, later there would be an even more a bigger, more dramatic reveal where Emi, Kat, Izumi, and Hokuto all find out each other's identities. Maybe things get way worse before they get better. But then again, maybe if they work together, there's still hope. And I'm gonna leave it there. I've been talking long enough. The rest is up to your imaginations. Here's the finished Princess Tutu piece. I think it's fun how very different they look from their original designs. I had a lot of fun drawing this and brainstorming a plot outline in general. That brings us to the end of this second installment of PRISM as Other Magical Girls. When and / if I get around to making a third one, I will definitely include Shugochara then. And I'll take this time between now and the next video to catch up a bit more on that. Maybe I'll get closer to finishing it. I probably won't finish it. It's long as fuck. I'm currently not sure what I would do for the other 2 or 3 shows though, so feel free to leave your suggestions in the comments. Maybe I'll pick up a new show or 2 if I haven't seen it before and enough people ask for it. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video and you'd like to support me and support more PRISM content in the future, I have a Patreon. $2 a month gets you access to everything I post, from works in progress to early uploads. $5 a month gets you access to my Patreon-only streams. I do 2 a month. We play games and work on videos together. And my $10 a month tier gets your name read at the credits at the end of my videos just like this. Thank you so much to Nabura, Inagami Black, Caller 3 Tura, Jordan Ripley, Sean M, Alien Drag Queen, Shortcake Snake, Seb, The Orc Cafe, Mallow Chew, Dusk, Andre, Inger Lease, Aswix, Bixweegnif. That's what you get for spelling your username like that. Crumb Munch, Dust Munchies, Michael, Jacob Goodwin, Russell the Jimmies, DJ Cat Meow, Berserker 102, Hikari Yu, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Makaru, Fields of Starlight, Minnow Candy, Rasuri On, Kurt Coolman, Winrin, Dracos, Andrew Robinson, Kristaru, Schooly Sweet, Comet Tail, Cody Richard, Nikos Darcy, Cat Dagger 2, Yakumo Soul Queen, Emiraki, Ash Fear, Nico Zawa, Orion the Stars, Night Mage EXP, D. Henry, Peachy Mint, Miyukichigo, Silver Shadow, Dojo Kid, Dylan MX, Thunder Evermore, Wilmosdorf Art, Lauren, Chioro, Fire Newt 451, Poissy, Scriblet, Project Emptyrine 5, Madu, Sweet Kitsu, Kodal Cuddles, Kara Stark Strange, Mama Peaches, Zelphus, Michael Sasha Rose, Jakey Jellybean, Johnny Stars, Gallivanting Galliforms, Gabrielle Clinner, Sailor Star Bones, Aria Days, Jesper Barrel Alabaster, Solix, Pan con Queso, Ambit Bunny, Keek Yuri, Talia Griffin, Andy, Harpo the Marks, Charlie the Kitten, Fawn Draven, Retrofon, Midge Mayhem, It's a Me Mari, Jet Dark Flame, Sketchy Beats, Rayleigh Sheridan, Pancake Pearlchan, Sushi McNushi, Sega Inkblood, Oculus Portfolio, More Please, Summer Stars, Bookbound, Sirius Star, Vesicile, Rainy's Corner, Sakaru Love, Larice, Dahlia Dreamcraft, Sparky Knight, Snail, Devin J. Allen, Kyle James Taylor, Creepy LPS 44, Blazing Locust, Ace, Schmo, Shrimpy Boy, Twisted Mind, River Mori, Wet Sock of Pain, Mochi Mercy, Moon Pie Dumpling, Jamie Cloud, Bo Cinnabarol, Claire A.D., King Jester, Pebble Lee T, Ursula 707, Data Fox, Beetlesticks, Christina Respeto, Caster, Pixie Pranksis, Lucas, Kaji Purin, Oliver Ruiz, Jaxelberry, Lainey Montz, Luxtorium, Wesley Mabane, QB, Commodore, Harris the Rat King, Alpha Origay, Alpha AC Roberts, Dewdrops, I Draco Strahl, Evie Chan, Darkheart, Blue, Jade Warlock, Chase, The Name's Raymond, Aaron the Confused, M Trey, Mew Mew the Bun, Ningyo, Vesalius, Scissor Reaper, Tabby Laffy Annie, Sunny Side Up, Arcadichu, Hellpup, Bonzla Witch, Coca, Ashley T, Cruminoid, River Pancakes, Boots and Cats, Crow, Creaking It, Miss Manic Panic, 360 Avia Boy, Bubbleberry, Via V Velvy B, Natalia the Written 73, Dogger, Cloud Axolotl 107, Anxie T Plush B, Mario Medina, Abigail Wargo, Thela Scream, It's Fucking Windy, I Try to Fight, Ghostly Goat, Karina Floraline, Ali Mocha, Zephyr Christos, Krim Skoy, Sholia, Melvonix, V. Rogers Art, Kamiki Miata, Sunset Lemonade, Philip the Yoke, Lola, Young Nanner, Shards of Shattered Space, Gremlin, Fusion Fire, Red V, Nate Art, Raven Troll, Johnny Ariano, Rain Jake, Luna Lou the Mew, The Legend of Alice, Danny Glitter, White Rhino 2222, Daphne Jolly, Nyan Pantsu, Eggoat, Taylor, Boring Studios, Luna Yoku, Zachary Borgs, Jake Vantru, Madison, Kitty Freak, Gil Tice, Phantom Bagel, Kyger, Capri Crocker, Monster Freak, Dragon Draws, Nyx Flame, Stymphalion, Chaosu, Popsicle Personify, Cactus Princess, EC Art, Goji Dragon, Vendetta, Leon Dexter, Rudio, Faithums, Tazara, Starling Studio, Mia Bear Mallow, Fond Envy, Sathari Chaos, Sathari Shows, Martin Anderson, Connor Robinson, Nikolai Galagaxian, Honey Beast, Eddie Star, Bread, Enma Baby, Wizard of Nine, Jalen, Rhododendron Cat, your resident Disney princess, Exorcist Lilum, Gravity Drop, Sammy Sammer, Mark Delark, Bun Bun Boy, Luby Z, Xchalia, Queen Sinoko, Night King, Miss Contrary, Glasses Protag, Mist, G, Damn Creativity, Sil Emmy, PTR Draws, Fulon Cool, The Crystal Paladin, Sweetly Sinstra, Strawberry Kitty, The Sleepy Detective, Mim Silvernote, Ovive, and CJ Duffy. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Bye!